Hey guys, welcome back to RailSim. Those of you familiar with RailSim would probably remember the original version of RailSim Beta 1, which I posted some videos about on the Reddit channel, also on YouTube. That was back in the earlier part of this year. I did stop the project for a while, in part due to coronavirus. Been a bit of a strange year. But in the last few months I decided to pick the project back up again now things are sorted, and I've got some time to put back into this project again now, and yeah, I've been working really hard on it and decided to implement a lot of new features, so much so that I've decided to call this version RailSIM Beta version 2. So I'm pleased today to show you guys where I've got with the project, and just to show you some of the new features that's gone in. I've made a list because there's a lot of things which have gone in. If you go back and watch the older videos on YouTube, I'll leave them on there so you can have a look at what the old version looked like if you're not familiar with RailSim, and then you can compare it to this version and you'll see there's a lot of changes have gone in. I think you'd be quite surprised the progress I've made on it. Okay, right. As you can see, RailSim now has a homepage. Before it didn't have anything. It's still on development server at the moment. It's not on its own domain or anything like that. It's only accessible through the development server at the moment. But that will change in the future, of course, as the project progresses. But like I said, it has its own homepage. You can log in, which is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to log in, and then I'm going to go through my list and go through all of the features which have been implemented, and just give you a quick run through of how the project's coming on now. Right, so if I log in, click launch, and here we are. This, guys, is RailSim version 2. If you're familiar with the older version, you could probably notice quite a few changes straight away. But if not, I'm going to run you through everything anyway, just to get you up to speed. Now, the first thing some of you guys might notice is the fact that the game has actually loaded a previous save game. And this is because the game now has an autosave feature built in, whereas before version 1 of RailSim didn't have a save feature, which was pretty silly. But it was a big feature to put in, so it did take a while to implement, and it wasn't really a priority back then. But yeah, I've made it priority. Everything's got it working, works absolutely perfectly. The autosave feature just runs in the background. On the development server, it's currently saving the game every 15 seconds. But on the final version, when it goes live, when it goes live properly, we'll probably move that to 1 to 3 minutes or something like that, because yeah, auto-saving every 15 minutes is great for testing, but it's just a bit annoying in the background with the constant bleeping, although I probably could turn it off, but there's really no need to be saving every 15 seconds. I'm not sure any game that really does that, but anyway, you'll be pleased to know autosave is in, does work, completely saves your progress. Every time you load up RailSim, your previous game will just reappear, and you can just continue from where you left off. On top of that, I've also built something called game save protection. It's not really anything that you'll see yourselves, but it is running on the background on server side. Every time the game saves, it creates a backup of your previous save game, and then every time it saves again, that backup is then overwritten by the previous version. So at the moment we're on 15-second intervals. So the game always has a backup. So if for any reason the backup file becomes corrupt or something goes wrong, at the end of the day it's a beta version of the game. There are bugs, and I'm sure you'll find them. What happens is, in the background, is we've written some code so that it will automatically revert to the backup save game file if for any reason it can't load the main file. You won't know any difference. It'll just load your game. It'll just load it sort of 15 seconds earlier than when you last left it. In most cases you won't even notice, but that game save protection is built in there, and then once it reloads from the backup, it will then create a new save file and then start making backups of that as well, just to make sure your game save is being protected. There is a bit more that we can do to it as well, just to make it a bit more protected. There may be other reasons where the backup might become corrupt as well, but I can certainly look at implementing something to figure that out in the future. On top of that, we can also start a new game. The version 1 of RailSim, every time you loaded RailSim in the past, it was a new game, which was quite frustrating. But now you can actually create a new game anytime you want. Now you can do that if you look up here on the new sort of UI menu. Over here you've got a game menu, and if you click new game, you'll have a warning pop up, and that says start a new game will override your existing game save, meaning you will lose your current progress. So please only continue if you wish to start a new game. That's because at the moment you can only have one save game file plus your backup. And what that means is that if you wish to start a new game, it will erase those files and it will load a blank new game. Now I'm not going to do that right now, I will show you that at the end. Because I want to obviously keep everything that I've built here so I can show you some of the features, some of the features which have gone into the game, which I can only really show you if I've got stuff sort of built. So we'll close this for now, but just so you know, you can start a new game if you get fed up, or if you end up millions of dollars in debt, then yeah, you can load up a new game anytime you want. Right, moving on. The sidebar has changed a little bit. So what we've got going on with the sidebar then. So first of all, very simply, we can now sort of toggle stuff on and off. So for example, I can toggle the message box. The message box sometimes is useful for, it tells you how much cargo your trains are picking up, where the trains are departing to, and some few other messages here and there which are dotted around the game and things like that. But every time you hear that bleep in the background, that bleep is a notification in your message box. So I like to have it hidden because I like to have the space here on the right hand side. However, even if it is in view, any of these sidebar windows, you can minimize them here. So you can have sort of full view of the the game screen without them getting in the way. But I went a little bit further and I thought, okay, how about removing the sidebar altogether? And now we can actually do this as well, look. So we can actually remove the sidebar completely. So you can have full view of the game without needing to worry about your sidebar. And anytime you click on anything which requires a sidebar, it will automatically just pull the sidebar back up. Right, for instance, I'll give an example of that, is these new menus here. So you've got My Trains, Stations, and My Routes. If I click on My Trains, you'll have a train list come up. Obviously, I haven't purchased any locomotives yet, so I haven't got any trains running just yet. But they would show there. So you have all the information about your trains, how much profit your trains are making, so you can see all of your trains in one list. It's really, really handy. Most games like this have got something similar. Again, with the stations, same thing. As you can see, you've got all of my stations. I've built quite a lot of stations for this example. It shows you the number of platforms currently serving those stations and the profits that those stations have made. At the moment, all of the stations are, as you can see, are minus $183,219. That's the initial build cost of the station, so that is taken into consideration as part of the operating cost of the station. So that's why initially they have a negative value. There is no limit to the number of platform stations can have, and I'll show you some examples in a little bit of how to actually extend stations and create more platforms, to create a bigger station and a bigger supply of cargo, for example. We've also got My Routes. Again, this is empty. I haven't created any routes yet, but I will show you briefly how to do that. If you're not familiar how to create routes, in the previous version of RailSim, you may have watched that previously. It's very similar, but now you can actually see all of your routes, or lines if you like, between various stations, and actually see the profitability of those routes individually. So we've created a lot of income and expense balance sheets for various windows that you can, various stations and trains and everything really, so you can kind of get an idea of more of what's going on, a breakdown of where your expenses are and where your income's being generated, for example. Right, moving on from there, we've got a new settings menu here on the right. So if we click settings, I'll explain what some of these things are. First of all, we've got game speed. So normal is obviously 1 time speed, and then we've got fast, which is 3 times speed. Now it speeds up the animation of your trains, so they move between move along the line quicker, like I said, 3 times speed, which seems to be sort of appropriate. It doesn't speed up the economy, it just speeds up your trains. So if you're a bit impatient and you want things to go a little bit quicker, then by all means you can speed the game up. If you've got trains en route currently, they won't change their speed until the next route. So until they arrive at the station that they're sort of currently traveling to, until they get to that station, they won't change the speed. They will stay at the same speed until they get to the next route, and then the speed will change. And it's just for simplicity reasons. In the code it was just easier to just do that. May change in the future, but it's really not that important. And we've got some animation settings as well. So we've got step animation, we've got linear animation. Step animation is step by step. The trains move in a step motion. And then we've got linear movement, where the trains move in a completely smooth motion along the line. Now I've currently got the game in step animation, and I'll show you the differences between the two a little later on. I like step animation because it runs the game smoothly when you've got a lot going on. If you've got a lot of trains running, there's a lot of animation going on, there's a lot of code being run in the background, and it can be quite taxing on your processor, bearing in mind that this is a browser-based JavaScript game. It does rely on your CPU power, and it does rely on your graphics card power as well. So if you've got quite a beefy graphics card and CPU, then you'll find your frame rate won't drop too much. If like me, when you haven't got the greatest PC in the world, actually I'm running on a Mac here, to be honest. It's quite an old Mac, it's about 10 years old. Graphics card is not great in it, CPU is not that powerful, so for me really the step animation it allows me to sort of play the game comfortably without worrying about sort of lagging and sort of frame rate drops. Talking of frame rate, you can see up here in the top left hand corner we've actually got a frame rate calculator. You can see mine's hovering around about 30. Now usually that should be about 60, and it is usually 60 for me. The reason why it's around 30 at the moment is because I'm screen recording, and that's hammering my CPU separately. Like I said, if you've got quite a powerful PC, I have tested this on higher end PCs, and I've seen them at 60 frames per second, sort of solid, running trains and what have you. So like I said, it all depends on what sort of power that you're sort of running with your with your computer. Right, we've also got a color mode. This is sort of purely cosmetic, but it's a nice feature nonetheless. So as you can see, we're in the default dark mode, which is really nice. If you're playing the game in the evening, for example, and you've got the lights dim or lights off, it's really nice on the eyes because it's not too glary. Now we can change this to various colors to suit however you wish to view the game, really, to be honest. Like I said, it's completely cosmetic, it doesn't change the game in any way. But we've got light, as you can see, we've got a light background, and we can change it to blue. We can change it to green. It's a nice sort of grassy green colour. Red, which I surprisingly quite like. I actually quite like that. It's really nice. We've got yellow, which is not quite my favourite, but it's there anyway. And we've got aqua, which again I quite like that. But we'll stick with the dark. You'll remember your settings next time you it saves with your game save. Right. Another thing to bear in mind is if some of you guys can notice when I'm sort of scrolling around, if you can see any glitching with the background. I noticed this on a previous video that I had sort of attempted to record for this. When I watched it back myself, I could notice some glitching when I was sort of scrolling around. I can't see it myself. Mine, it's perfectly fine when I'm doing it here. But on the video record, I could see some glitching, and I've worked out the reason is because of this sort of dot matrix pattern, which you can see on the background, which gives a bit of a texture to the map. On the video, I don't know whether it's my graphics card or whatever. Just not able to process things fast enough. But I noticed on the video playback sometimes there's a bit of glitching when I'm scrolling. So if you can see that, I apologise for that. But I can assure you won't actually get that when you play the game for yourself. Right. So moving through my list swift as you can. Otherwise, this will be quite a long video. We've got tooltips to give you an idea what everything is. So as you can see, when you put your mouse over the various build options, you've got your track builder, your station builder, your depot builder, your building signals, and then obviously you've got tooltips for other things. There are tooltips in other areas of the game as well, which are quite useful. Some of the sidebars have got tooltips to let you know what some of the functions do. Google Maps integration. Now, some of you may have already clocked on what's going on in the background. If you come in from RailSIM version 1, you may have noticed towards the end of the last video that I posted, you may have seen some roadways implemented in the background. They were sort of like grey lines on the screen. They were randomly generated, but they looked like they were connecting towns together. Now, I've decided to go away from that idea because it kind of wasn't working out for me. But instead, what I have done is integrated with the Google Maps API. Now, the Google Maps static API is not free, but I've integrated with it anyway. I do get an allowance on this, so I can have so many, I think it's like 100,000 queries a month or something like that. I've managed to burn through quite a few thousand of those queries just in a week. Just myself, just constantly sort of reloading and testing the game and loading new games up. So there's a bit of stuff that I need to do in the background to make that more optimized. Otherwise, that could get really expensive with a lot of players. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I can figure that out. It shouldn't be a problem, but it does add a lot to the game. Now, to give you an idea of actually what's going on here, say for example, if we go down to say Lake Beach here. Now, the towns or cities in this game, which are randomly generated when you create a new game, they're randomly generated from towns and cities, or major towns and cities in the United States. So if we take Lake Beach, for example, if there are anyone listening to this video from Lake Beach in the United States, you would probably be familiar with some of these road names because, for example, Oakwood Drive would be an actual street name in Lake Beach. Orchard Court and what have you, or if we go to Sunnyvale, we've got Rincon Avenue, for example, and you can just see some others sort of cut off there to the end. Now, the reason they're cut off is because this town has a certain size, an initially generated size, and as you play the game and as you sort of move cargoes between various stations, each of the towns can actually grow in size, and as they grow in size, the map behind the town gets bigger and it reveals more of the real town, which I think is quite a nice feature, quite unique in its implementation. And yeah, this has been in now for a couple of weeks and I really do like it. What can actually happen is the towns can actually grow to a certain size. There is a limit, but they can actually join with other towns, and because the colours of the roads are all the same colour, when they join together they actually look like they are supposed to be joined. So it does look pretty cool. But the great thing about it is that there's tons of towns and cities available, and they, like I said, they are randomly generated. So every time you start a new game, you'll have completely new ones than you did in your previous game, and then you've all got, you've got completely different road names and street names every time you play the game. So I think it's a pretty cool feature. Anyway, right. So what else have we got? So to show the next bit, I need to show you some stations. So if I pull up Huntington Beach Station, as you can see here, we've now got income and expense and profit individually on an individual level for the stations. Obviously, you've got this on a game level here. So this is my my expense and my profit for my game. At the station level, it's this here. And this also applies to trains as well. So they'll have their own income, expense, profit. So you can pull up individual trains and see how they're performing. You can know where to make adjustments and try and make things a little bit more profitable. So obviously, in your station, you've got the demands of the station. So this station will demand these cargoes, and it will supply these. Now the supplies are relating to the surrounding supplies. So we've got a city object there, which is Huntington Beach City. This supplies 0.39 cars per minute of passengers, and it demands the equivalent in these cargoes here. Now, because my station is built next to this tile, it will receive cargo, passengers, and other commodities from the surrounding tiles. It's too far away to receive anything from, say, this lead mine here, for example. So the way it works is that you would need to build a station directly around it like this in any one of these tiles in order to make use of this tile. And this is where sort of extending platforms and stations to reach other surrounding tiles comes in handy. Right. We've also got interest rates. So you can see my interest rates at the moment are 5.85%. So my interest rates is on my loan. My loan is effectively if I have a negative balance, it's classed as a loan, or if you like, an overdraft, if you like. So the interest rates here, as you can see, this is changing. I'm getting deeper and deeper in debt as the seconds go by. Obviously, if you've got a positive balance, you're not going to be paying any interest on that debt. But if it's negative, because the game allows you to keep building your network, you can build and you can buy stuff into a negative balance as much as you want. There isn't a limit on it at the moment. But what I did decide to do was to just implement the interest rates which are attached to the economy side of the game to make it such that if you go into debt in the game, it obviously becomes a little more difficult to get out of debt, because then you're having to pay the interest on it as well. So it's a neat little feature. Right. So what else have we got going on here? So in the main sidebar window here, underneath the interest rates, we've got our economy section here. So at the moment, I've only connected up cities at the moment. I've only connected sort of city tiles. I've connected quite a lot of them, but so at the moment I'm only running the passengers commodity at the moment. So each commodity, whether it's passengers or coal or iron or any industry that you're sort of working in, has its own economy. So as you can see at the moment with passengers, I've got a price, a commodity price, and I've got an economy status. Now the economy status at the moment is no activity, because obviously we're not running any trains and we haven't really done anything yet. But if I as I progress through the game, and as I sort of pick up passengers from one station, move it to another town and what have you, the economy will change based on a supply and demand, and it has various states. Now you can have growth states and you can have contraction states, and it means that your towns and your industries in that economy can actually grow, and they can grow, and you can get additional tiles to grow the industry out, and your towns can actually grow. When the economy for that industry is in a growth state, and if it's in a recession state, for example, it will actually start to shrink back. So things can change. So it's really quite a cool feature for you to keep an eye on the various industries that you're actually trading in, and to make sure that those industries are either in a sort of steady state or a growth state, and try and keep them out of the sort of recession state. You get early warnings. You get things like shortage and surplus warnings in the sidebar to let you know whether you're oversupplying or undersupplying. So those warnings can give you an idea whether you need to sort of cut back on the number of cars, or increase the number of cars because of demand. So that's quite interesting to work with. Gives it unique sort of unique aspects of the game. What else have we got? Right, so we've got next is load instructions. Now this wasn't in version 1, but it was a feature that I think I did talk about and I wanted to get implemented. So if I go to my depot, my workshop, and build a locomotive, back to workshop, and let's build some passenger coaches. So I'll just build 2 at the moment. Like so. What I'm going to do is just set a route for this train like so, and you'll see my train in the step animation mode. As you can see, step animation is exactly as you see there. My train is animating along. Like so. There's a bit of a bug there. I can see is the train is actually going behind the track, but that's a simple fix. I'll get that fixed before this video goes out. Right. Okay. So what I want to do is now we've arrived at Patterson Road. I want to send the train. Well, actually that bug is actually causing me some problems here because the train is behind the track, and I can't actually click on it by there, as you can see. So I'll definitely get that fixed straight away. I do have another way in. Fair enough. I can click on the train's head code here in the message window, and I can pull up the train. As you can see, we've loaded passengers from Patterson Road. And what I'm going to do is take this assignment out, because this assignment is from the depot to the station, so we don't want that to be in its route assignment. So we'll turn that off. We'll set a route, and we'll tell it to go to Westminster Harbour, and we'll depart for there. As you can see, our head code has been updated, so it's XD0E, and what the head codes actually represent is they represent the starting tile, if you like, being XD, so that's this station here, and then 0E being this station here. So you can use the track numbers to actually get an idea where the train is actually going. Although you can see the track is actually faded as the train progresses, to give you an idea where the train is actually sort of destined for. So what I want to do is I want this train to arrive now at the station, and I'm going to tell it to go back. I don't need to plot the route back because it's automatically can be set to go back to where it came from just with the click of a button. So I'll show you that. I'll get the train to go back, and then I'll be able to turn on automatic loading and then show you some of the load instructions. So if I click on the train, Let's tell it to go back. So I've got a quick route. So as you create routes for your trains, they remember where, you know, they remember where they've come from and what have you, and it remembers quick routes, so you can set quick routes to various locations. Now we've got a quick route back to Paterson Road. We can tell the train to take this route by clicking on it. And if I pull up the train again, I've now got Paterson Road arrives in 1 minute to Westminster Harbour, and then departs from Westminster Harbour 1 minute back to Paterson Road. Now I've got that back and forth. If I wanted to tell this train to continuously do that, I can change its route mode from manual to automatic. If I click that, it's now in automatic mode, and the train will go back and forth between those two destinations. Now at Paterson Road, I can tell the train to, for example, full load. So for example, you know, I've got 15 cars waiting, so that's not going to be a problem. It's going to full load straight away. But if I wanted it to full load, I could tell it to full load, and it will sit there and it will wait for a full load. Previously, in the older version of RailSIM, that wasn't available. So, and you can do this for each individual stop in your route assignment, if you like. You can tell it to full load, load available, or you can also tell it to unload only as well. So say for example you're setting up just a supply train, just to supply extra cargo to another station that's then supplying an industry, for example, you might want to use unload only. Obviously in unload only, your train doesn't get paid for that cargo because it's not selling it at the location where it's unloading it. So just bear that in mind. You know, you could run an unprofitable train if it's just running unload only. But it's a nice little option to it. I think we're going to add another option as well called skip. Sometimes you might want to skip for some reason. You might want to tell it to just sort of do nothing, just sort of pass through that assignment rather than taking the assignment out. So I'm just going to tell this to full load. There you go, full load at both stations. So back and forth, it'll just go back and forth. So if we look at our economy now, you can see we've triggered the sort of gold economy here. That's because this station has now become active at this gold mine which is connected to, so it'll actually start sort of bringing in some gold from this station. If we can see, yeah, we've got 6 cars of gold there. So I could probably take that somewhere. I think gold is accepted at this station, I think. So gold, yeah, it does demand gold. So I could certainly add a few cars of gold to my train and do that. To add the cars to the train, I would need to tell the train to go back to the depot. So to do that, for example, I would click on the train. I'll have to use this way getting in at the moment. I would take the train out of automatic mode, wait for it to arrive at the depot, at the next station, and then tell it to go to the depot, make the changes, tell it to go back to the station, put it back in automatic mode, and then I'm done. It gives a bit of realism to the game. You know, you have to tell the trains to go to the depot in order to, you know, to add carriages or remove them. Again, at the depot. In fact, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how that works. So I'll put it in manual. So the train won't continue on this route. There we go. Okay, so it's picked up more passengers here. So for example, if I tell the train to go to Jersey New Street Depot, it'll make its way to the depot, and then when it arrives in the depot, I can add some valuables wagons on to carry that gold. So while it's doing that, let's just have a quick look at how much got. Yeah, so we've 6 cars of gold waiting. Right, okay. You see my economy at the moment, my passenger economy at the moment is steady, which is a good state. It's neither growth nor contraction. Okay, so we've arrived at the depot. So if we click on the depot, Oh, I don't want to click on that. That's the city. Jersey Street Depot, workshop, rail cars, and we want armored security cars. So if I build, say, 3 of these, there we are. Close. We want to go back to Patterson Road, like so, and then pull up the train. Take out these extra route assignments that we don't want, because it departs from Patterson Road to the depot, so we don't want that. And departs from the depot back to Patterson Road, we don't want that. Put the train back in automatic mode, and it will wait for a full load now of valuables as well. So I think if we just sit here and watch it arrive, hopefully we should see our train load up with gold. And there we are. We've got our full loads of gold, and hopefully the train should now be making its way down to Westminster Harbour to sell it. Obviously the trains have loading times, so we can see, looking in here, we've boarded 128 passengers and 96,000 ounces of gold from Patterson Road. Train's on its way, and it'll make its way now down to Westminster Harbour. I'm not sure if this might be a bug here. Gold doesn't have a price at the moment. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Maybe it might be activated once it makes the first journey. I'm not sure. I'll take a look at that anyway. Right. So I think to kind of wrap things up, what else have I got on here? Ability to sell wagons. Yeah. So you can sell cars at the depot. You know, if you don't need them anymore, you can sell them off to get some money back. I also plan to make some tutorial videos, short tutorial videos, to explain some more sort of individual features of the game and how they work. For example, like if you build depots next to another depot, instead of it building a new depot, it will actually extend upon it. Same with the stations. So for example, if I take this station here, so my station tile is here, Halea International. Okay, so at the moment it's just supplying passengers and it doesn't demand coal. However, what I can do is I can actually build, to get it to demand coal, I would need to place a station at least here. So what I could do to get it to extend onto this station is I would need to build a platform here and build a platform here. Now I can do this like this. So I can build track, and I can build track like so, and then I can connect those tracks into there. But what I can do is I can then build a platform here, and then I can build a platform here. And as you can see, because there are no new name tabs above this station, this has actually extended this station with extra platforms, and it now, as you can see, it now demands coal. So there, as simple as that. That's basically how you create extra platforms to reach, you know, without creating new stations. You can do it just by creating extra platforms. Right, some of you may remember previously I integrated a gamepad, which was up here in the top right hand side, where you could actually play the game without using the numpad keys on a traditional desktop PC. Understandably, some people would like to play this on the laptop. I play this on the laptop sometimes in embed, and I'm just sort of testing things out. And obviously most laptops don't have a numpad. To get around that issue, I built a gamepad which was up here, and you click on it and it'd have directional arrows, cardinals, which you could use to, you know, effectively play the game. I decided that I didn't like that implementation. It didn't really work that well in my opinion. It was functional, but I just didn't like the look of it. So instead what I've done is I've had a think, and I've now integrated a different feature where on the laptop you can actually use the WASD keys as the sort of up, down, left, right building keys for actually playing the game. And then you can also use the Z key and the little key next to the Z key, which on a Mac is a shift, but on a Windows PC it's I can't remember what it is. It's like a little icon. Anyway, you can use that key, the Z and the X, as your sort of 1, 2, 3, so you get the diagonals, and then you can use QWE for your diagonals in that direction. So you can play the game on a laptop, and you can use those keys. So if you just look for the WASD and then look for the surrounding diagonal keys to represent the type of keys that the layout that you have on the numpad, then you can actually play the game in that way as well. So, and that works perfectly, just like numpad keys. It's no problem at all. If you want to delete anything, if you want to delete track, for example, if you build track, you make a mistake. For example, if I say, for example, I sort of want to delete this on my Mac here, I can just press the delete key, and I can delete the track. On a laptop, instead of pressing the delete key, you would actually press the middle numpad key. So if you're playing on a laptop and you're using that WASD configuration, that middle key, which represents the number 5 on a numpad, is the S key. So if you press the S key, it will act in the same way, and that is your delete button. It's the middle button is effectively your delete button. Right, so I think that pretty much wraps it up. I think there's one or two bugs I think I've noticed here myself, which I need to sort out. I've got a huge list of features I'm still implementing. The project is by no means anywhere near finished whatsoever. There's a ton of ideas and a ton of cool features that I'd like to implement. And I do encourage anyone who's interested in the progress that I'm making with this game to possibly become a beta tester, support the project through the Patreon page that I've set up for RailSim, and by doing so you can actually have complete full access to the current version of RailSim exactly as you see it here, and you'll be able to, you know, play the game, give me feedback, and help me find the endless amount of bugs which are probably hidden within it. Anyhow, just before I go, I will just show you how to start a new game. For example, if I click up here and press new game, give me the warning. Obviously I'm going to lose everything I've done so far, which is a bit of a shame, but I just want to show you. So start new game, it will automatically reload. As you can see, the game is currently reloading at the moment. There's no loading screens just yet. I will build those. There just hasn't really been any sort of necessity to put them in, but the game is completely reloading. I've got a brand new game here now as well. So as you can see, brand new game, new towns, new cities, completely new objects, completely different. Everything is completely new, unique to this new game. And right, how to get access. So if you are interested in supporting RailSim as a project, you can get access by going to the RailSim Reddit. There's a link on the Reddit screen to take you to the RailSim homepage, which is on the development server. At the moment, it's I'll put a link down in the description. But if you're interested, you can go to testing.jcm, so Juliet Charlie Michael dev reddit.com, and that will bring you up on the RailSIM Beta. Okay, the link will be in the description. It's also on the Reddit page as well. Don't go straight to the Patreon. If you go straight to the Patreon page and you support us on Patreon before registering here as a new player, then you won't get automatic. It won't automatically let you in. I'd have to manually sort of set that up. The way it works is that you would go to the testing.jcndev.com to access the RailSIM Beta. Click register for a new account. As you can see, you'll bring up the create account screen we've got here. Enter your details, your email address. This is important email address. You should use the same email address as you use on your Patreon when you set that up, if you haven't got a Patreon already. The reason being is because we've actually integrated with Patreon. So that integration allows RailSIM to automatically detect your support through Patreon, and then it automatically activates your account. So if you create an account here on RailSIM first, email name and password, get beta access, that will then take you over to our Patreon page where you can create a pledge to offer support for RailSIM. And then once you do that, providing you've used exactly the same email address, it will recognize that you're already a user of RailSIM, and it will grant you access to the beta when you try and log in back at the login screen here. Any problems, do reach out to me on Reddit. I'll be happy to hear from you guys, for some feedback, and definitely let me know if you find any bugs, because they do need to be ironed out. But yeah, have fun, guys. I'll be back soon with some short tutorial videos on some little features here and there as they get implemented. Try and sort of keep things more up to date. I do feel like I'm sort of making more progress on this game than I was previously, and as you can see, a lot of new features have gone in. If you're new to RailSIM, I encourage you to go back and watch the older videos, because you can actually see the progress that's being made, and it gives you an idea of the type of progress that hopefully I'll be able to make in the coming months ahead. Anyway, cheers, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope you're really enjoying the progress being made on RailSIM. Take care.